Hello folks, welcome back. Today we are adding a new server to my Homelab setup, a Proxmox server. I will use it to create and manage virtual machines, starting with the NixOS VM today. We'll set it all up using Terraform for a fully declarative infrastructure as code. First of all, let me walk you through the existing infrastructure using a network diagram here. So here I have the 10 gigabit router from the ISP, which is connected to the internet through fiber. In one of the 1 GB ports in the router, I have an existing Proxmox server connected, and it is called Pluto. So from the router, I have a 10 gigabit switch connected to it. It's just a cheap router I bought from AliExpress, but it's working perfectly fine. And in the switch, I have two devices connected. So one is the TrueNAS server. It is running in an old HP machine which I bought from eBay. So here I have two interfaces connected to it, one 1 GB and the second one at 2.5 GB. And coming to the server specs for our Jupyter Proxmox server, so I'm using an Intel NUC 10 which I bought 3 or 4 years ago. So it has 12 cores, it's an i7 CPU and 32 gigabytes of RAM. It also have 2 terabytes of SSD, out of which I have given 1 terabyte for Proxmox and I left 1 terabyte as unpartitioned. So here is what we are going to do today. So I already installed Proxmox and configured it with this IP address, and I also use a DNS for this server. So this is already configured to resolve to this IP address, and I have this machine configured to SSH into Proxmox. So first of all, I'm going to use the Proxmox helper scripts to do a bunch of post-install tasks. For example, disabling the nag screen and setting up updates, etc. And then I'm going to add a new NFS volume which is going to connect to the TrueNAS server. So I'm going to store all the virtual machine templates, IOS templates, etc. in the TrueNAS server, and in order to use that in Proxmox, I need to add a volume for that. Then I'm going to use NixOS as my base image for building the virtual machines. So for that, I need to download the ISO and store it in the location where Proxmox can use them. After that, we are going to start working with Terraform. So we need to set up the providers and set up the initial project for Terraform. So then we are going to use Terraform to provision a new NixOS virtual machine. So this is what I'm planning to complete today. So eventually I will be working more with Nix and set up game servers, Kubernetes, and a bunch more things. Okay. So let's start with the post-install scripts. So for that, fortunately, we have a project called Proxmox V helper scripts. I will add the link to this website in the description. So this project contains a bunch of useful scripts which you can use to automate working with Proxmox. So this makes our life much easier. So here you can see a bunch of things like, for example, if you want to install Docker, if you install a LXC container with Docker, you can use one of these. So what we are interested in for now is to use the Proxmox V post install script. So I'm going to use that. The script provides options for managing Proxmox V repositories, including disabling the enterprise repo, adding or correcting PV sources, enabling the no subscription repo, adding the test repo, disabling the subscription nag, updating Proxmox, and rebooting the system. Okay, that's exactly what we're looking for. Since I have SSH access configured, I will do SSH to Jupyter. Copy and run the command. This script will perform post-install routines. Yes, please. So we will have the option to choose what we want to do. Correct Proxmox V sources. Yes, please. Disable the enterprise repository. Yes. Enable no subscription repository. Yes. Correct safe package sources. Yes, please. Add PV test repository. Okay, I'm not interested in that. Disable the subscription nag. Yes, please. Okay, disable high availability. I don't need it at the moment, maybe we will enable it later. Okay, update Proxmox V now. Yes, let's do it. Okay, so the post installation script is complete. We can also do a reboot if necessary, but I chose not to. So this is now complete. The next thing is to add the NFS volume for the templates. Let's do that. Okay, so let's go to data center storage and add NFS. Okay, let's call it templates NFS. So true as cost. Okay, and here it shows the export list, and that's the one. Okay, so it can have a container template, VCDM backup file, ISO image, disk image, all these things. Okay, let's add it. All right, so here the NFS has been added here. Perfect. Now what else do we need to do? We need to download the NixOS ISO into this directory. Perfect. NixOS ISO. So we are looking for a minimal ISO image for Intel AMD. Okay, let's use a clean link. Okay, so we will have to download this directly in the NAS. I'm wondering if where this is mounted in the Proxmox. So let's see the mount points. Okay, so this is mounted to MNTPV templates NFS. That's easier. Okay, so I can do duplicate with the Linux ISO. So the ISO, actually this should be inside template ISO. Okay, so we need to move the latest NixOS ISO into template/ISO folder. That is the correct location. NixOS is available now. Now we can start Terraform setup. So I already have the repository called Homelab IAC ready. Let's start the editor. So we are going to have different projects for Proxmox, TrueNAS, and multiple things. So I need to keep them separate in different folders. So I like to use a folder structure which includes the site name and the infrastructure project name. So here my site name is Cosmos, and inside that I'm going to create a folder with the name Jupyter. Okay, so this folder is going to manage all the infrastructure within this Proxmox. Okay, so inside that we need a main.tf file, a providers.tf file, a terraform.tf file. Okay, so in order to use Terraform for Proxmox, we need a Proxmox provider. So let's do Proxmox. Okay, so we actually have a couple of different options, and what I used before is this one, Telmate Proxmox provider. And here in resource you can see it can create a Proxmox QM virtual machines and LXC and also Cloud Init disks. So this looks like a good start for us. Let's copy this. Actually before that we need to use the provider. So we need to initialize the Terraform project by adding this. So here. Okay, so this is going to use 3.01 RC4. Okay, and configuration. We need to first check the configuration part. So first of all, we need to create the new user named Terraform prof, and assign the necessary permissions to be able to create the virtual machines, and then provide those credentials in here to be able to connect to Proxmox. Okay, let's do this. So this is going to create a new role named Terraform Prof, and let's have a quick look through the permissions to see that it's correct. Okay, nothing crazy I think. Then it creates a user, and here we had to provide a password. Okay, then it assigns the role to this user. Okay, let's add the role first. Okay, and then user. So I'm going to use a simple password now and then change it later. Because I'll have to add it to my Bitwarden. And then allow the user with this role. Okay, and then we need to create a connection via username and password. Okay, so in order to provide these environment variables, I'm going to use deren. So I can add this here. So what I'm going to do is eventually move this to a new password manager. So instead of exporting this, instead of hard coding this here, it is going to get it from new pass. Okay, so for that I'm going to use this something called deren. So what deren does is whenever we cd into a directory, and if it has a envrc, it's going to source it automatically. So we can also add like scripts here or things like that. So this makes our workflow much easier, so you don't have to run this command each time when you have to run a Terraform command. Okay, so let's try it out. Let's try Terraform Init. Oh sorry, I'm in the wrong folder, of course. So as you see, when we are a new envrc file, then we will complain that this is not yet allowed. So we had to allow it whenever we change this for security purposes. So if I do deren allow, okay, so it's going to export these two variables. Let's do a simple Terraform plan and see what's happening. Okay, there are no changes because we haven't defined any resources yet. Perfect. And what else do we need? Okay, I don't think we need anything else. So the provider is set up, Terraform is ready. Now we can go to creating a QEMU VM resource. Okay, so this is how we define a virtual machine. It is called Proxmox VM QEMU. Then we can provide all the parameters like the name of the virtual machine, which node it has to be deployed to, and all the additional disks, CPU, memory, all those details. So this provider actually has a lot of parameters to go through. So instead of defining this from scratch, the easiest approach which I usually follow is to create one VM from here from scratch and then import it to Terraform. Then we can start tweaking this and use that as a template for the next set of images. Okay, so let's try that. Let's create a VM and say Jupyter. Okay, call it NixOS. So here we are using the image which we just downloaded. So let's leave everything as default, and yeah, let's add a QEMU agent as well. Okay, disks we will give it, let's say 50 GB, and under the local LVM. Okay, this will be SCSI. Okay, CPU, let's give it say 2 cores and 2 GB of memory. Looks good. Network, give it a bridge. Okay, Right, 2 cores, 2 GB, name is NixOS. Looks good to me. So the virtual machine is created. Now here what we can do is, if you scroll down, there should be an option called import. So Terraform has a way to import an existing resource into the code instead of writing this from scratch. So let's do that. So import blocks. Okay, so let's use this syntax to import this existing virtual machine into our code. So the reason why we're using this instead of the import command is we can also do code generation with this. So it will generate the entire configuration for us. Imports.tf. So this will be Proxmox VM commute. Okay. .NixOS, and the ID is the VM ID, which is 100. Okay, now what we can do is, when we do Terraform plan, it should show that configuration for import target does not exist because we don't have the code for this. So we can do Terraform plan with the generate config out. So this parameter is going. So with this parameter, we can define that it should try to generate the configuration as code for this resource and write it to generator.tf. Let's try that, and it doesn't work because you must specify an endpoint for the Proxmox environment. Okay. So it looks like we need, of course, PM API URL. So this is going to be this URL. Okay, sorry. Okay, let's try again. In Explorer, trying to read and pass the resource in valid resource format, it should be node type VMID. What is the type? So node is Jupyter, and I think it's Kemu. Okay, so now that we specify the ID of the virtual machine to import, let's try the okay. So it's not always perfect, sometimes there can be conflicts. So I think we can just get rid of this parameter to make it work. So generator TF, as you can see, it has already generated the entire configuration for us. So here it was complaining about line number 77. Let's see. CD-ROM pass through. Let's remove this part and leave it as default. Then we do a plan now. So here, as you can see, now it is trying to import this into our state, and it looks good. We can apply this now. Perfect. So now we should have a new state file. So it has created a Terraform.tf text file. This will contain the entire state of our infrastructure. So we're not pushing this to Git at the moment, but eventually we will encrypt this and push it to Git. You can also use like a S3 or some other cloud storage for storing the state, but I prefer to just keep it simple and push it as encrypted into Git. Okay, so this is generator.tf. I will just rename it to NixOS.tf. Okay, So let's clean it up a bit, remove that part, and all these parameters are optional, so we can actually do a find and replace. Okay, so that removed everything. So these are the only parameters which we care about. Okay, all right, looking good. So we can actually try one thing. So we can try to duplicate this and try to create a new VM without touching the UI. So I'm going to add a NixOS 2.df and then use this as a template. So this will be NixOS 2, and we need to adjust the name to make it unique. Then we need to adjust the VM ID. Not sure if it's a parameter here. No, I can add a VM ID equals to 102. So the previous one was 100, I think. Yep. So let's make it 102. And then it will use the same ISO. It will add a disk. Maybe let's keep the disk to 20 gigabytes. We are testing anyway. I think I probably added this. Okay. Network, keep it same. And I guess I'm not supposed to provide this. You know what? I will just leave this details. Probably we only need the bridge and the model. All right. Let's see. Terraform plan. Okay, so this will create a new virtual machine with the name NixOS 2. Name is here. Okay, same memory, same CPUs, all good. Okay, apply. And use target node or agent nodes. Did we miss that? Agent. I'm gonna do a Terraform FMT to format the code, then we can apply again. It's creating, that's good news. Let's look at the UI. Okay, as you can see now the OS has started. It's not started yet. Okay, so it has created the virtual machine with the exact same settings. You can see memory, processors, all good. And it is using the CD-ROM as well, and the hard disk is also here. So now let's also keep it started. How do we start this? Okay, if we set the on boot to true, then it will start at the time of boot. Let's do that. Is it true? Okay, it's already true. VM state should be running. Okay, VM state is now stopped, so let's keep it. Change it to running. So we are going to start both the instances. Okay, apply. Okay, so you can see that it's now changing the status to running. So this is going to start both the virtual machines. Okay, it is started. So let's check the console. So this time let's start it. Perfect. Let's check the. So here you can see that we have the 20 gigabyte disk attached and also the ISO. So once we install the NixOS into this disk, we can get rid of the ISO as well. Let's go back to our checklist. So we have the Terraform setup, and we also got the NixOS virtual machine running. So that's it for this video. In the next video, we will optimize it and start setting up our game server using NixOS.